Hi, I'm Paul Guppy with the Washington Policy Center, and this is our weekly update of the legislative issues that we are working on. So we are in week 5 of the 2022 legislative session, and we've been following a whole range of issues, and in this video, I'm just going to hit the highlights. The big news of last week was that on Tuesday, Governor Inslee held a press conference in which he revised his outdoor mask mandates. We have been tracking very closely the impact of COVID restrictions on the economy, on business, on schools, on jobs, and just the social connections in our community in general. And so what we're looking for is for when Governor Inslee begins to match the trend that's happening in the rest of the country, where states now see that public health standards are at a place where they can start easing COVID restrictions. And one of those is the mask mandate. Governor Inslee is definitely a lagging leader on this. He is not on the forefront. He's clearly reluctant to ease up on restrictions, but he did announce that he was ending the mask mandate outdoors for gatherings of 500 or more people. He did not change the indoor mask mandate at all, and also did not address the question of children wearing masks in schools. So that is the next stage of this policy that we're tracking, and we understand that the governor is reconsidering that and will make an announcement in the next week or so. We'll see what develops there. Interestingly, at his press conference, the governor did say, quote, "I will not be stampeded," meaning that even though Democratic governors in other states are starting to ease restrictions, he's going to make his own independent decision. What we have been promoting is a standard that he set himself 2 years ago, which is follow the science. The science is starting to show some of the downsides of mask wearing and other COVID restrictions and how those affect particularly child development, delayed learning, or just create general emotional stress for people in public environments. So we'll continue to track that issue. In a related matter, Todd Myers did some follow-up research on a study that he did in the middle of last year about excess non-COVID deaths. So what we're comparing is the governor's claim that his COVID restrictions are meant to save lives. This is a guidance that he has repeated again and again as a justification for his policies. And what Todd has done is looked at objective data regarding reported deaths in our state from April of 2021 to December of 2021, so a little bit less than a 1-year period. And what he found is that there have been 4,700 non-COVID excess deaths. And excess deaths means greater than the pattern in past years. So he looks at 2018, 2019, 2020, and then 2021 and gets this measurement. So what we're trying to point out to both the governor and elected leaders in general is that there's a balance here. It's not just all one way. COVID restrictions don't just save lives. They can also cost lives, and we think that's a balance that lawmakers need to look at. Many of these are related to emotional stress or despair or other kinds of motivations like that, delayed health care, for example. So our main point in looking at this is we are concerned that the COVID crisis will end, mandates and restrictions will eventually be lifted, but there will be no review as to what we learned from this experience. So we want policymakers to actually go back and instead of just automatically assuming that every step that was taken over the last 2 years was the right move, to actually see whether there were some downsides and harm that was done to the people of our state, not only by COVID, but by the restrictions themselves. And the reason for that is so we're better prepared next time that there's a health emergency. We don't want to just cycle right back into future economic shutdowns, future mandates that cause controversy and maybe don't have the intended health benefit. So we're hoping our state leaders will learn from this experience and not just sort of politically sweep it all under the rug and move on, but try to learn better for the future. Another, again, issue related to the effects of the COVID crisis are Elizabeth Hovde has been doing research on the nursing shortage. This is a major crisis in our healthcare system. There is a bill, SB 5892, which passed the Ways and Means Committee. It has bipartisan support. What this does is create improve the pipeline of people training to be nurses, particularly in high school. Those who are interested can join a Certified Nurse Assistant program, CNA it's called, and the state has made moves to make that easier for people who want to get into that profession. But we think more needs to be done as well. So we're promoting healthcare innovation. Dr. Susie Ciro, who is one of our research fellows, has done a broader paper about healthcare innovations for Washington State. And one of those is to remove barriers to people who want to train as nurses. And in addition, allow Washington State to accept trained, experienced nurses who were certified in other states to practice in our state. Even Governor Inslee has allowed that as an emergency measure. Our point is, why only during an emergency? Why not let certified, trained professionals from other states work as nurses in our state? So we're hoping the legislature looks at that. The other issue we're following, which of course is a long-term effort for us, is fighting a state income tax in our state. The legislature did pass an income tax bill on capital gains earnings that was immediately challenged in court. Jason Mercier on our staff has been providing research both for the court case, but also tracking the process. So there was a hearing in Douglas County at the trial court level. This hearing lasted over 2 hours. Jason attended the entire hearing. And what he noticed is that the judge sat patiently and listened to all of the arguments from both sides and asked no questions at all, and only asked one question at the very end, which to the attorneys, which is, what if I rule this to be unconstitutional? So that's not proof. We don't know what the judge is going to do. He's going to issue a ruling in about 2 weeks. But he seemed to only be exploring the possibility of striking down this law and didn't talk much about what would happen if he upheld it. Again, that is only at the trial court level, so there will be an appeal, and then eventually this will be at the state Supreme Court. Parallel to that effort, we have been working at the local level to encourage counties and cities to pass local income tax bans. The legislature has approved a bill that would authorize local income taxes. Seattle has already moved in that direction. We're concerned that local jurisdictions across the state could impose their own income tax. So far, 23 local jurisdictions have enacted local income tax bans, 15 cities and 8 counties. So that's important in itself. We want to take proactive measures to send the message that an income tax is not popular, not good public policy. We also want to send a message to the courts that this is not something that people really want. We're not naive to think that particularly our Supreme Court is not affected by politics. They understand, in addition to what the law says, that there is public opinion out there and people feel strongly about this. So rather than passively waiting for this judicial process to go forward, we are tracking that. But in addition, we want to promote a message at the local level that income taxes is not something that people want, whether in their county, their city, or even at the state level. So with that, we'll continue to follow it. We're also on top of budget issues. Again, Jason has reported that the state reserves are now over $11 billion, and that's a good signal that we could use common sense tax relief, particularly with the latest news about the rise in inflation. So we're telling policymakers, you want to do something practical to make prices lower and to make life more affordable for the people of our state. First thing you could do is reduce the financial burden that you impose on families across the state, businesses, employers. And that would be cut the sales tax, cut the state property tax, cut business taxes, but any form of tax relief would immediately make everything more affordable, lower prices, and help take the edge off inflation. So with that, we'll continue to follow the legislature. They have another legislative cutoff date coming up this week, bills passing in the House of Origin. And also the session is scheduled to end on March 10th. So we'll see whether they stay on time regarding that. We have some more events coming up. We have our regular on-the-go update online. It's free. You can register on our website. That's Wednesday at noon. Also, our Young Professionals group is having their book club meeting, a very popular program that we run. That's also later on this week. And that's everything. So, but I want to say thank you as always to our supporters. Your support makes our work possible. We encourage you to share this video with your friends to give an update about what Washington Policy Center is doing. And I will be back next week with more news. Thank you very much.